Hi folks, Chef Costa here, ready to talk to you about thermometers. And I know that in the last couple of years, the technology on thermometers has gotten to the point where their quality, accuracy have improved, and the price has also improved in that it has gone down. So we have the three thermometers that we offer here at GrillGrate. We've got the digital probe thermometer. We've got the Temp and Time, which is the one that I love, and we have the infrared laser thermometer. And so we have three different types of thermometers. Now, if we were looking at these three right here, we can kind of put them in two categories. We have two probe thermometers, and these are going to work well for checking the internal temperatures of food. And then we have an infrared laser thermometer, and this is for reading surface temperatures. And this is the one that you want to use when you want to know that the temperature of the surface that you're about to apply food to is going to be the temperature that you're looking for to achieve the results that you'd like. You want to make sure that you've got it hot enough. So I want to talk a little bit about these thermometers, how to use them, and some simple strategies that will make it easy for you to use them. So if you've been looking for a quick start guide to thermometers, this video is going to be it. One of the important things before you use the thermometer is you want to confirm that it's reading the temperature correctly, and that involves calibration. So to calibrate a thermometer, you need a glass of ice, and we have a glass of ice right here, and then we're going to add some water. So we make a mixture of ice and water. A lot of times in the articles, the books, the magazines, they refer to this as a slurry of ice and water. So we've got a slurry of ice and water, and we're going to use this to check the temperatures that the thermometers are reading. This should read 32 degrees at sea level or close to it. So I'm going to take the digital probe, I'm going to stick it into there. I'm going to give it a second for it to set. And it's still going down. As long as it's moving, I'm going to let it kind of stabilize. And it's reading 33.4 actually, 33.4. Now this particular thermometer does have the ability to calibrate by hitting the calibration button. And now we're reading 32. So 32 degrees. So this thermometer is calibrated. Some thermometers you can't calibrate them, or let's say you don't have time to calibrate them. In that case, what you're going to do is just have some very simple math, hopefully, as long as you're only off by single digits. So the Temp and Time thermometer, we'll stick it in here, we'll let it find its place. So I'm reading 34.7. That means that I'm 2.7 degrees off, which is not a problem. So now I know that this reads 2.7 or close to 3 degrees higher than what the actual temperature is. So if I'm using a temperature guide, I go to probe something, I know that whatever this temperature says on my thermometer, that it's really 3 degrees higher than what the guide or chart that I'm working with. For the infrared laser thermometer, I'm going to give my ice a little shake to break it up. I hit the laser in there, and the laser thermometer is reading 29.7. So we know that it's reading a little bit colder. If I come up a little higher, that's probably going to change the temperature a little bit. 32.4, so 32 degrees. With these thermometers, the infrared thermometers, you have to take into consideration the distance you are from the item that you're taking the temperature, and what the radiation that it's giving off. So I know with the ice, if I'm about 6 inches away, hit it with the laser, 32.5. It's running half a degree warm, which means that's pretty accurate thermometer. So it'll give you the temperature. When you're really trying to get that color on that item that you're grilling, knowing what temperature your grill is an important step, and this thing is invaluable. All right, so now that our thermometer is calibrated, we want to talk about the actual usage of these thermometers and how they should work. When it comes to a probe thermometer, you want to probe in the thickest part of the meat, and with most of these probe thermometers, it reads the temperature right at the tip. And these are both the contemporary design, which goes down to a little needle point, and it's going to read the temperature right here within the first ½ inch of the bottom of the thermometer. If you're just working with a simple bimetallic stem thermometer that isn't digital, those work on the principle of two different types of metals that react differently to heat, and typically they will probe the temperature about an inch up from the bottom. So it's important when you're putting your probe into something, if it's a bimetallic stem thermometer, you want to make sure that you push into the center of the thickest part of the item that you're taking a temperature. The infrared thermometer. So it's important to note, if you've ever looked on the side of an infrared thermometer, it has a little chart here which kind of explains the distance that you are from the food and where it's reading the temperature and what you might have in terms of loss. The other thing to consider too is what is the item that you're probing. These have been designed and set the emissivity so that when you're probing your GrillGrate, you're going to get the most accurate temperature. When you have a different one, the emissivity can, on some of them, be adjusted given the temperature, the kind of item that you're taking a temperature of. And it has to do with the amount of radiation that the item will emit. So obviously when you're dealing with metals and hard metals, they have a lot more radiation than if you're probing, say, a salad. What you need to be aware of in terms of food safety and the temperature guides. On the GrillGrate website, we have a fantastic temperature guide, which not only tells you what the a range of desired internal temperatures would be so that you can use it as a guide, but it also gives you a little bit of food safety information. When it comes to desired internal temperatures, it's always important to note that these guides are written for what would be kind of the most common temperatures that people desire, but they may vary from person to person. So what you think is a perfect medium steak may not be what a temperature guide thinks is the most perfect medium steak. So the GrillGrate Temp and Time. This is one of my favorite temperature probes to use. One of the reasons that I enjoy this is that when you set it to the Temp and Time function, it will count up from when you last took a temperature. And the reason why this can be important is two things that can really be helpful. One, when you're not quite at your desired finished temperature before you remove it from the heat. You can take a look, see how long it's been since you last temped it, temp it again, and then by just keeping a mental record of what the temperature was, the intervals, and how much temperature increased during that time, you'll start to really kind of build this internal clock that'll let you know how often you need to check the item. And after doing this a couple of dozen times, you'll probably nail exactly the amount of time that you need. The other reason why I like to use this is for getting that carryover cooking effect. So when we temp something, it's at our desired temperature that we want to remove it from the heat. We take it off the heat and let it rest. And there are certainly many different schools of thoughts on how to let it rest. Probably the most popular being just to cover it with a piece of foil or a piece of wrap. When you're doing that, you take that last temperature and you close it, you can wait that 5 minutes for rest. Of course, 5 to 10 minutes is suggested, but when they say it's suggested, it's really based upon what the thickness of the item is, and its thermal mass, the shape of the food, and what the cooking temperature you cooked at. The higher the temperatures that you cook at, then the more carryover effect that you're going to have. The carryover cooking period, and it typically will finish somewhere, 5 minutes for something small to as much as 20 minutes for something large. You're doing a pork butt, that carryover cooking, even though you're doing it at a low temperature, will still to continue to cook for about 20 minutes after you've taken it off the heat. When you remove the meat from your smoker or grill, the meat is about 5 degrees Fahrenheit from your desired temperature. That's kind of the general rule of thumb. So if you're trying to reach an internal temperature of 135 degrees, you want to pull your meat somewhere around 130 degrees. Cover it so that you have the opportunity to let it rest and let the rest of the heat conduct through the item. The only variables you need to make changes for is the thickness of the item and then obviously the temperature that you're cooking. So this is all the basic information. This is your video quick start 2-part tutorial for how to use thermometers. There's lots of information out there. Of course, we encourage you to share with us your experiences. The thermometers that we have available from GrillGrates, they're fantastic items. As you use them, please share with us. Let us know your tips and tricks and things that you've developed. We love to hear from our customers. They always provide us with the best information. After 25 years of teaching people how to cook, I find that I learn as much from my students as I do just from reading books. So your input is valuable and we'd love to hear from you.